Welcome back, everyone, to episode 32 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So I'm coming into today rated 1764, and last few episodes I've had relatively quick games, some aggressive gambits, so we'll try and keep it going today. And this is going to be my last recording before traveling internationally, so for future episodes, at least in the near future, you might see a different background, but hopefully I'll have good enough Wi-Fi to keep uploading. And yeah, with that, let's hop into the first game for this episode. Okay, first opponent playing Baladaya. We have pawn to b3, the Nimzowitsch-Larsen opening. Against this, I like to just control the center. Very often white will play e3, I'll play knight to f6. Here we see a double fianchetto, so white preparing bishop g2. Let's take the center still, play pawn d5. And I'm going to play pawn h5. We saw this theme, I think, a couple times in the previous episode of going for the h-pawn thrust against the kingside fianchetto. And f4 is a very provocative move, because I can take, and if takes, I play queen h4, winning the pawn, double attack. Yeah, sometimes white will play f4 when g7 is not defended, but I think in this case white is giving me free material. I'll take again on g3. I guess it's my opponent who's playing a gambit here. Now it's a question, can I go after this pawn, like bishop d6, or queen d6? If I play queen d6, the only way I see for white to defend is king f2, and then knight f6, preparing this or this looks really, really nice. Bishop d6 is similar, but might get messy after takes and king f1. Also looks good for black, but I think queen d6 is a bit cleaner, not giving white the chance to take on g7. And I'm actually thinking that if white plays king f2, I'll decide between knight f6 or knight h6. Because with knight f6, it would allow bishop takes. Wow, white just resigns. Okay, maybe not liking the position. Let's check the eval bar. If I had to guess, it's probably already like -2 in black's favor. Okay, -2.2, 2.5. Yeah, white could have fought on. Although the engine says white should give away this pawn and play knight c3. So if king f2... yeah, best move knight. Actually, knight f6 or h6 are both very good. And yeah, it's not a great position for white. So quick game. It's only 7 moves long. Yeah, white should have probably just respond with h4 here. Is a typical prophylactic move, preventing me from playing h4, and the game can go on in a more normal fashion. So good start. That brings me to 1773. Let's keep it going. Okay, next opponent playing Pagapag, whatever, however we pronounce his name, from Indonesia. Do I want to play d5? Whoa, game aborted. Maybe I took too long. Okay, I guess I should be ready with my opening repertoire against d4. Let me know in the comments what people want me to play against d4. I could play England, I could maybe go for Budapest, I could play d5 and maybe play like Albin Countergambit. Okay, I'm black again. This time my opponent's from upside down Indonesia, which is Poland. I'm playing d5, so it's not an opening I've played much in the speedrun, but I'll play the Albin Countergambit. Pawn e5. To be honest, I don't know too much about this opening, but I do know the basics. The idea is to play pawn d4 here, gaining some space, restricting white's development. And there's a really funny trap that unfortunately my opponent's not falling into. So assuming I remember after the game, I'll share it. It's one of the few traps in chess where you can underpromote to a knight in the first 10 moves. But white's playing very principled, I should say, preparing b4 and stopping bishop to b4. Do I want to play a5 to clamp down? Do I want to insist on gambiting and play f6? How much respect do I give my opponent? I think a5 is a nice prophylactic move. I think f6 maybe would be a little bit too reckless, because white's plan of b4, bishop b2, it could be a little bit annoying. Okay, here I'm going to play bishop to g4. Nice way to develop and to use the bishop to lessen white's control over d4. This is obviously a focal point, but now I'm pinning the knight, and if white takes, I was actually thinking I could take back, but that doesn't work because queen takes d4, and then there's no pin and I lose material. So if white takes, I probably have to take on f3 and then take, and that should be okay. Okay, bishop to e2. Tension is mounting. And the pin is broken. There's, again, 3 attackers. I don't think bishop c5 works. Unless it does. I have to calculate. Bishop c5 and then take and then take and then take. The problem is my bishop is attacked on g4. If I take on e2, there's knight takes e2. So I don't think this actually works. I mean, taking is a possibility on e3, but that helps white develop. Taking on f3 is a candidate move. But I'm not sure what that accomplishes. Like, I could try and win this pawn, but then I lose b7. Although maybe there's some initiative there. Like very far into the future, if I end up taking on c4, there's queen a4 check, and that could backfire. So yeah, kind of at a crossroads here. Another idea is to play d3. Queen takes, we trade queens. I take and then take and then take. I'm still down a pawn, but maybe there's positional compensation. To be honest, that's the most attractive option I see so far. I'm going to do it. There's a line in the King's Gambit. It's the Falkbeer Countergambit, where it's sort of a reflected version of this position. Again, if I remember, maybe I didn't quite catch that. Sorry about that. My robot watch is talking to me. What was I saying? Maybe after the game I can share the line in the King's Gambit. But here, yeah, we have a queen trade, which I'm not thrilled about, along with conceding the bishop pair, which I'm also not thrilled about. But I get some initiative. Things become a little bit imbalanced. White has double pawns. The knight is nicely centralized. Yeah, bishop e2 makes sense. And I'm in the castle. And even though I'm still down a pawn, I feel like I have some sort of play, like knight d3. White would probably take and then take king e2, and yeah, white is probably doing fine. Okay. Yeah, sometimes in life, the sacrifices don't really pan out and you just have a worse position that you have to deal with. At the same time, you have to be grateful for what you have. In this case, there's still a long fight left to go. Okay, we don't see king e2. Knight c3 is also probably very acceptable. Let's develop. Actually, I'll pause for a moment here, just trying to figure out the optimal setup. Imagine king e2 will come next. I'll have to retreat. I do like the knight on f6 though. In some cases, it restricts this knight from coming in. Bishop d2, okay. So maybe white's preparing to castle queenside. Considering g6, bishop g7, knight g4 I don't think makes sense. It's an attempt to prevent white from castling. Although it is kind of a tricky move, because if h3, maybe I take. The king is overworked. Knight g4. There's also a funny line, like knight g4, king e2, knight takes f2, defending the rook, but then rook f1. Rook f1, and that backfires. I think I have to give my opponent some respect. Maybe at a lower rating level I would try this, but I think it's important to complete development. Maybe later go for this move, depending what white does. But also have to manage my time. Below 5 minutes. Yeah, white's played a solid game so far. No obvious mistakes. Maybe the last few moves have been a little bit slow. Sometimes players don't fully understand that, like, once queens are traded, the king can just ball cloud, and the king is probably best in the center. We see rook d1. So I'll put the bishop on g7. It felt like if I develop this way, it's just restricted by white's pawns. Now, do I want to double up? Bishop c1. I don't want to be trading off all the rooks. There's also knight d5 as a concern. Yeah, I think I just retreat. Rook d7. So not a great situation. I mean, to be honest, this is maybe one of the worst positions I've had thus far in the speedrun. Getting a little bit outplayed. I have a4 here. Or b6. b6 I think is more solid. Gives the king a square as well. Yeah, I definitely have to up the tempo given my time situation. White offers a rook trade. Ugh. Okay, at least here I'm aligning with the king. Maybe I can set up knight h5, which would offer the bishop trade. Bishop e5 could be maybe slightly annoying. The bishop e5, I just play knight h5, and I don't mind if white takes on c7. I want to plop the knight on e4, but it doesn't quite work. So let's do this. Offering the bishop trade. King f3 is very solid. I guess I'll take. What else to do? c6. Yeah, not easy to be tricky here. c6, rook d6. I feel like I have to restrict the knight. I'll put the king on c7. I'm allowing white to double up, which is unpleasant. I mean, what I might have to do is play knight f6, rook d7. Like, if I get the chance. b4 is a great move. Okay, I'll control the file. And maybe dive in with this rook. Some counterplay. I'm playing quickly because I have to. Rook d3 is really, really strong. I'm in trouble. It's actually very big trouble. Rook d3 will threaten knight d5. That's white who's generating tactics. Yeah, great move. King b7. That's the only move I see to, like, avoid the knight check. And now I have to kind of weather this position. Does knight d5 work? Because then if I take the rook, there's an intermezzo, knight takes e7. Okay, it isn't played. Do I have this move? Can I walk up the board? It looks so risky, but... And there's also king b7. King b7, knight d5. Do I walk up? I think I do. I brace for impact. Still down time. At least I'm attacking the pawn. Like, if my king doesn't get mated, it can be an active player. Now, there's multiple different checks for white. There's knight e4, there's either rook to d5. In all those cases, I think I take on c4. And maybe I can just sprint back to safety. Or not. Kind of forgot about that. Taking doesn't really solve much for me. That's some mating net. Wow. Rook c1 is so hard to stop. Rook c1, king d3, rook d6. I don't even see how to stop that. I have this. Oh, there's no increment either. Oh, I got mated. Good game. Oh, the first loss of the speedrun. Ouch. I didn't see that coming. Rook d4. Oh no, my king. I thought I was... So I saw rook c1. King moves here, here, and then this would be mate. So I probably have to take the knight there. Yeah, good job to my opponent. Played great game. Yeah, I was hopeful, like, even after getting a position like this down a pawn, I thought I could be tricky, but yeah, this knight really never entered the game. Like, it developed, traded, what to do. So there's definitely a few things I want to share, just kind of opening lesson-wise. Perhaps this was not a great example of how to play the Albin Countergambits, But one of the reasons to play this opening, especially against lesser experienced players, is a lot of players might be inclined to play e3 here to try and just trade off this pawn. And this is already a big mistake for white because bishop to b4 check. And there's a really beautiful line after bishop d2 blocking the check. Black can sacrifice the bishop and take on e3, lose the bishop, and then take on f2. And I'm sure there's been like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of games online from this variation. Now with the pawn on f2, if the king takes, we win the queen for free. And if the king tries to stay close to its lover, then this is where we take the knight and promote to a black knight. Now, if you get this trap in like an over-the-board tournament, you might have to pause the clock before playing the next move because you already have two knights on the board. And in a tournament situation, if there's not an extra knight available, you have to ask the arbiter for an extra knight. So it's a nice flex. But the reason to promote to knight is you keep checking the king. If you promote to queen here, then white can actually survive after takes, takes, and takes. But in this line, takes on g1 equals knight. If the rook takes, we have bishop g4, winning the queen. And then maybe king e1 is best, but black is up material and can continue attacking queen h4, and black is in very good shape if g3, queen e4. So yeah, we didn't go into that. My opponent was better prepared. I think this is a line that is probably quite common among stronger players who are aware of the Albin and kind of know to play prophylactically. And obviously I was not prepared. I played a5. Engine slightly prefers knight e7. Allow b4, knight g6, and go after this pawn. Yeah, maybe that's a better approach because a5 turned out to be a little bit slow. And oh yeah, so we got this position. And maybe I can go on a quick tangent here and just share the line from King's Gambit. Yeah, real quick tangent. So we go back to the starting position. King's Gambit, this is a Falkbeer Countergambit. It's like a reflected version of what we just saw. And there's a line that is some kind of theory, bishop d2, e3. So I was remembering this from the King's Gambit. I thought I could use the same idea. This is probably turning out better for black because after takes, takes, there's more initiative. The king is more vulnerable. If we compare this to what I got in the game, after pawn d3, white's king is safe. I'm just down a pawn. And yeah, my opponent, I think, just played very solidly. Like, yeah, eval bar shows a huge edge in white's favor. And what to do? Like, I tried to hold my ground. Knight b5 was a great move, attacking the pawn, preparing b4. And then, yeah, the king found a great safe place on f3. This knight had no purpose on h5 other than defending the bishop, which, yeah, in this position, it really had no purpose. And c6 was too hopeful. Like, I was trying to restrict the knight, but in reality, I was just weakening myself. And this concept of b4, and then the idea is to play b5 and get the knight to d5. And unfortunately for me, there's not an easy way to deal with it. I counterattacked rook d3, and yeah, there's these threats. And already it's +5 in white's favor. I tried to be brave with my king. Yeah, rook takes b6. And the engine says I should have taken the knight. I was oblivious to the maiden one threat. But yeah, this would not have been too hopeful, especially with my time situation too. So, yeah, first loss of the speedrun. I think I'll end it there. Sorry for maybe a sad finish to this episode, but that's the nature of chess. Sometimes you lose very one-sided games and you just have to take away some lessons. Maybe next time, if I actually do play the Albin, I'll try and be more prepared, and maybe I'll play a different Gambit that I know better, like Budapest, or maybe I have to start playing like more reliable openings that are still tricky, like Cambridge Springs, or maybe like these early QGD with A6. So yeah, it's a sign that I'll probably have to re-examine my openings going forward. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the chess today. As always, if you have questions, leave them below. If you have openings you want me to play, also leave them below. And stay tuned for more content. I'll see you guys soon.